Shall we stand? Heavenly Father, we're gathered here this evening to take care of the tribe's business, and you're watching over us. Father, I pray that we conduct our business in a way that would be well-pleasing to you. We also pray for those elders who have come out tonight, for the great audience that we have, and concerned Delawares. And we're thankful for that, Father. I pray, Father, that not only do they hold us accountable, but you hold us accountable for the decisions we make, and that we have a fiduciary responsibility to be wise with the spending of our money tonight, oh God, and that we might do things that would be well-pleasing to you in all that we say and do. God bless our chief, our assistant chief, and all the members that participate so willingly to sacrifice all their time to help this tribe move forward. God, I know that we don't please you all the time, and we certainly can't expect to be able to please you because you're perfect, and yet we try to please our people, and they expect so much from us, oh God. Just give us strength to bear up, and let everybody realize what it would be like to walk in our shoes. For we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you. I just got 4 hours of sleep last night. I need strength.
Are you making excuses?
Okay, roll call.
Johnny.
Here.
Jennifer Johnny. Here. Dan Brown. Here. Annette Ketchum. Here. Jeff Brooks.
Here.
Nate Dunn.
Here.
Carter Crawford. Here. Old Campbell's here.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to welcome the guests tonight. Anybody have any business to bring forward at this time? Okay. We'll move on then.
I would make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Nate.
I'll second.
Any changes in it?
I was passed under 6. So when requested on there, the maybe be an executive session. That's correct.
We'll just mark out this because that's kind of a redundant thing here. 6 is also 5. The integrated waste, solid waste. And we'll just do that. Both of those at once.
I request that we let Jimmy Johnson get his report for the beginning of the meeting instead of waiting. That's the only change I know of. Oh, I'm sorry.
I would schedule his time at 9:30.
I was asking that Jimmy Johnson be allowed to present his paper early in the evening, not wait until the last minute.
Does he want us to? Does he want to stay here all
He
night?
didn't care. Then to vote on his. The resolution 4849. After the minutes or?
Now, just do it right now.
Better.
We need a motion.
Where are you going?
I'll make that motion.
We haven't approved the agenda yet.
Oh, okay.
How do you make a motion to approve the agenda?
Okay, all in favor, or I guess we have to.
I'll second.
He first did, I seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I think we have changed the agenda. And so, our EPA director is on deck. Jimmy Johnson has 2 resolutions on the floor, and he's going to tell us about his integrated solid waste management plan.
Well,
1:1. There we are. I didn't even bring a copy with me, so the integrated solid waste management plan. Did you turn me off? Just kind of sensitive. It's it was in our GAP grant deliverables to prepare this document. It basically outlines how we get rid of waste as a tribe. It's a pretty simple document because most of the other tribes that have to prepare these have thousands of acres of land they're responsible for and have a lot of solid waste dumps and illegal dumps and stuff like that. But all of our tribal facilities are served by municipal waste collection services. So it just kind of wrote it as a baseline document that will be revised as expansion happens and to include more lands than just what we're sitting on. And that's basically it. It's pretty simple. It outlines the federal guidelines that regulate solid waste, the Clean Air Act, Safe Drinking Water Act, and all those.
Resolution to go with your grant application for next year?
No, it was a deliverable for the current grant.
Oh, okay.
So
It's just to show we complied.
Just to show that
Okay.
we did it.
Is this resolutions 48 and 49?
No, 49 is completely different. That's the piece of legislation that we wrote. I believe it's
It looks very nice.
8 or 9 pages long. It's a pretty simple document that just says, here's what we have. We have this. It outlines our facilities and then those things, and this explains how we dispose of our waste through the city of Harlesville and the city of Chelsea and the city of Caney.
I would move that we adopt Resolution 2013-48.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Passed? All in favor? Yes. We'll just go ahead and do 48 also.
Okay.
49.
The act was part of what we did started this spring with Libby Gray when they were going back through the old laws and stuff that were on the books. There was nothing establishing the environmental program or establishing a baseline for environmental enforcement on our tribal lands. So this was the piece of legislation that I picked to write that in essence establishes my job. Establishes the Environmental Programs Department and establishes a baseline regulations for enforcement of any environmental laws on tribal lands, and it sets the federal standards as the minimum that is required to be abided by on tribal lands. And it was pretty much left open-ended due to expansion in the future. We have no regulated facilities on our tribal lands right now, but that's not to say that we will not later. So that it outlines enforcement actions. There's a fine structure for violations and things of that nature in the plan. And it, like I said, it just basically sets the baseline for any environmental enforcement, and it establishes my program officially.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2013-49.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Just a minute. Yes. Curtis.
Discussion.
Okay.
May I be recognized for, I just wanted to add a comment. Obviously, Jimmy and I have worked together. I reviewed this and the submission of this legislation, creating the Environmental Program Department. As you know, in the past, it only existed if we got a grant. And yet, this is in keeping with us permanently establishing these programs in the tribe. Also, even though Jimmy said this establishes his job, what I believe he meant to say was it establishes the job of an environmental program director, and as long as he does the good job that he's doing, we expect him to stay in that job, but it does permanently establish a department in this tribe and calls upon us to do everything that we can to keep it funded. We recognize that he's going to have to go out there and find the money to keep the program going and growing it. But by establishing this program, it's more than just what the grant does right now. It includes our move to Kansas, and then ultimately we will have to include provisions in the program to provide for our environmental concerns on properties and other resources that we have in the state of Kansas or anywhere else that belongs to the tribe. So I just wanted to add that for your consideration, even though I feel that we do have the council's support.
Well, Curtis, you're talking about the waste management plan or the act?
The act.
Oh, you said plan, I thought you meant the act.
Excuse me, I
Yeah.
stand corrected.
And Curtis, I want to ask you to amend your vocabulary to the expansion to Kansas.
Yes, ma'am. I'll correct it again.
And Jimmy, is it my understanding that that this will enhance your ability to get grants because there's an act?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's what
Yes,
I-
it is, because prior to this, there weren't any environmental laws at all on our books.
Okay.
And this establishes the baseline for passing more laws and establishing environmental regulation on our tribal lands.
And even though it's an act, even though it's an act and we have passed it as a resolution, it will have to be amended and amended maybe often.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then, okay, that's what I thought.
Yes, ma'am.
Call for the question.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passed. All in favor? Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Jimmy.
think you should still speak.
Oh, we're going to make you stay longer? No. You can stay as a conservative.
Okay, minutes. The August 5th minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes with any corrections.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Any corrections? Okay, call for the vote.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Passed? All in favor? The treasurer's report.
I would move we adopt the treasurer's report subject to audit.
Second.
the department reports in our packet. We have Greg and Leslie and Jimmy and Anita, Joe and Gene Rock, Lacey Harris, Bryce Obermeyer. Looks like we have them all today. And then we have the trouble manager's report. Haven't read that yet. Anybody want a short synopsis of that?
I'd
Have
like
people
to-
once.
Is there anything that we need to take action on tonight?
Nothing that requires action. It's just status reports. I just ask you to look over the Aid to Tribal Government and Fee to Trust application status reports. We're making extremely and excruciatingly slow progress. And then the only other thing is reminding you all about the deadlines for the Delaware Indian News, registration for NCAI, and then the restructuring of attendance at the census training on Wednesday the 11th. I know some of you have made a quick decision to go on travel. We will tape record that, and the staff that does attend that, we can do some later in-house training. And then my report also talks about other training and conferencing that's been going on here that's been very helpful and productive to the tribe.
I make a motion to approve the reports in packet.
Second that motion.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passed, all in favor. Okay, we'll move on to Dawn.
You share reports right now, Chief? Is it okay to give a report?
Okay.
Okay.
Dawn Mason's going to give a judge's report
Uh,
as chief judge.
Yeah, if I leave anything out, I would ask the other judges that are present to feel free to butt in and let me know what I forgot. I wanted to come to y'all and talk to you about some different things. We've been meeting with Libby off and on. Libby is a very necessary component for Fulton Court, and we very, very much appreciate all her help and all that she continues to do. I hope that she continues to be a help and an aid to us as a court in the future. And talking to Libby, though, that became quite obvious early on that there's some issues that I feel like I need to go ahead and let y'all be informed about so that you can be thinking about, because I don't want these to develop into a crisis. I would like for all of us to get ahead of this thing so it doesn't blow up on us. As you well know, we have our child support planning grant, and it is going gangbusters. It's going very well. I'm proud of everybody involved, and it looks like that we'll be online to do child support probably sometime in mid to late 14, which means that we need to prioritize reforming our code. I was talking to Libby and also to the other judges, and they have been doing some research and investigating and looking at our code. And regretfully, when you look at the code that we currently have, if you look at prior to 2009, we have these big holes. They go back and look for resolutions that have been passed by previous councils, and we can't find them. We can't find the law that was passed by previous councils, so we don't even know where the law is or what the law is. So this has turned into a problem, because when we look at our tribal code, it's got these big black holes in it. So we're going to have to do something about filling these in, and we're probably going to have to fill them in with new code. I think that what we as the court have pretty much come to a conclusion about is that pretty much the 2009 resolutions forward look like most of them are there. So we're going to start working at compiling them and putting them together and developing a subject heading. Of course, once we do that, though, we're probably going to present the compiled code to you to look at. Even though these are resolutions you've already passed, I want to make sure that you guys are informed of what the product looks like, because you may have some reservations about what it looks like when it's put together. And if you want to change something, modify, delete, whatever, you'll have that opportunity. So we're working on looking at 2009 forward. Also, since we have these holes, it means that we're going to have to look at what we're doing as we are moving forward as a tribe, and also with our bigger plan of returning to our homeland and our expansion in Kansas. This is where child support comes into play. Child support, we are writing a code that is part of the grant. So that really should be priority number one, and we are taking care of that as we speak. And eventually we will have a finished product that you can look at, and eventually you will pass a child support code in some form in a timely manner so that the court will have a code to utilize as we work child support cases beginning in mid to late 14. However, we also need to look at some other stuff. Priority 2, we feel probably should be Indian child welfare. We need to have an Indian child welfare code, statute, so that is going to be priority 2. We need to compile a statute for Indian child welfare. And also in talking to the other judges and even informally talking to some of you guys, it appears to me that I think priority number 3 probably should be an election code. So these are things that we're going to have to look at as we're looking down the road to fix our code. I think we'll be in good shape for child support, but as we look ahead in the months coming up, we're going to have to look at number 2, Indian child welfare. Get a code going, get it to you. And then number 3, hopefully have an election code. I don't know if we'll have an election code in place for the 2014 election, although that would be good. It would be very good. But that is something we are going to have to look at. So as you can tell, holes and gaps in resolutions in the past have created this problem with our overall legal statutory framework. We've got to fix it. We're going to continue to meet with Libby, and we're going to continue to keep you posted about this problem, because in the end, you guys are going to also have to be part of the solution, because you, in the end, will have the final say on these new resolutions that we will bring to you. Just wanted to keep you posted so you know what's going on. Number 3, that was number 1 and 2. I had 4 points. Number 3 is we do hope that you continue to keep Libby with us. Libby is a necessary component to just about everything we do. I don't know if we could accomplish as much as we do without her. And number 4, this is just an idea that we noticed in looking at these resolutions. We were asking ourselves, what happened to them? I mean, what happened to our framework? What happened to all this stuff that went on before 2009? And as we were kind of thinking about this out loud, some of us stumbled upon the idea that really what you guys as a council should consider is maybe have a legislative clerk. I know that Verna serves as legislative clerk, but I think what you really need is to have a part-time individual who really doesn't serve as a secretary or a receptionist. What they do is they come here, and when you pass a resolution, they keep track of it, and they make sure that we keep it, and it is eventually compiled and put in the bigger framework of what our code and our law is. Also, the clerk could help you out with agenda and keep you informed about what things are going on and any help that you might need in developing our code as we move forward. Because there's a lot of work yet to be done, even after we do get child support and ICWA, get an election code. There's lots of stuff we may want to do in terms of taxation and economic development that we want to put in a code. Hopefully it may be there, but then again it might not be there, and if it's not, then we're going to have to do something about that. So I wanted to come to you and give you a report about what we found, which is alarming, and let you know what we're going to continue to look at, and as we have ideas for y'all to solve it, give you these ideas, and you guys can figure out as a council what you might want to do. And of course, I think I speak for all the judges. If you guys have any questions about what I've talked about, feel free to contact us, and we'll do our best to get an answer to you if we don't have one.
Were you guys ever able to put a budget together about your needs? Maybe a super realistic bare bones budget and then a wish list budget?
Well, not a wish list. We actually did work on an actual budget, but what we discovered was that we at this point have minimal cost. A budget would be very minimal, probably no more than maybe just ballparking it, no more than $1,000 or so, unless you include training. And if you include training, that gets into our wish list budget. If we can get 638 funding when we go to Kansas, then we can get grant money to cure this problem with our budget, and you guys wouldn't, be grasping to figure out, well, the court wants a budget, now where are we going to get the money? 638 would solve that. And in an ideal situation with a court budget, you would have things like training, staff, but with our court, staff would be minimal. Also, we've talked about and kicked around the idea that someday have a pardon and parole board. I think, though, at first we may have to utilize 638 to do pardon and parole, but I think in the end we may look at contracting with the state of Oklahoma and perhaps Kansas to do some pardon and parole board work for them and use that money as a revenue source to help float our own branch. So I guess that's a long answer to your question, Jennifer, but short term, very minimal, because we kind of a shoestring court right now. As we develop, I know that Marsha Harlan, who's been working with Gina, has been talking about using the option there to use some child support money to train judges. And I think that's something we probably should look at as we get more into 14. I think you are going to have to train one or two of us in order to know exactly how to run a docket. I feel comfortable. I probably could do it. I think John could too. But I think that, some of the other judges may need the training, and it would be good for me and John to have the training just to make sure we know what we're doing. But we can use child support money for some court training, so we wouldn't have to include that in the court budget. So again, back around, minimal right now, but we're going to need more money in the future for training minimal staff, because I don't see us having a big staff. And again, if we do something like probation and parole, at first maybe some money, I would hope that we wean the court off of it and we could support ourselves with our probation and parole. So, I guess I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely.
Did I?
I have a question.
Sure.
Libby made a comment in our meeting last week about, when it was the 30th, that it's hard to she can't get the judges together to meet.
We talked about that today, and I think we're going to try to cure that. I think one way is we're going to actually try to start coming together more, but also I think we're going to start utilizing email more, and I think that we can accomplish a lot of this emailing back and forth.
Okay.
But you're right, we have to come together better to start moving on some of these things. I think that can be cured, and we're going to work on that. So.
The other question I have, would it be possible to go back to some of the former judges? That's disturbing. We've had a
Very
court
disturbing.
for 40, 30 years.
Well, not only that, it's very disturbing, Annette, because what happens is, it would be like you woke up one morning and you turned on the morning news, and the announcer on the news said, "Oh, it was discovered yesterday that huge chunks of the state statutes are gone, and so we really don't have any laws about rape or murder or anything like that. So for right now, we're just going to wing it." That's not good at all. So we're going to have to go, since we can't find it, what we can't find, we're just going to have to redo.
I agree. I just wondered if there was any other source.
I hear your pain and frustration, and I agree.
Well, and that's why that was one of the topics that was put on the plate of our infrastructure organization was because I did see those holes in there. And one of my thoughts was that maybe they left sections for future codes, kind of like we're doing with...
Well, like rape and murder, they did.
Right. So
Yeah.
they
I
didn't
know they
actually,
did that.
they didn't write the code at that time and just left it spot for them? I don't know.
Yeah.
I understand not making a budget, but it would help us to understand what we need if you could make a laundry list, like the type of trainings, those kinds of things, because if we don't have something to go by, then we don't know, we can't even get it into our mind how much money we're looking at to try to find.
Maybe what you might be asking, Vernon, which I think is very valid, and that is maybe the idea of doing a model budget. A model budget being we know that when we present it to you, it's not an actual budget. However, what it will be is we'll put something together. We'll do a model budget of what we think the court would cost if it was up and going as we envision it to be going. So I'll talk to Libby and the other judges, and we'll put together a model. And of course, when we do a model, a lot of that's just going to be, I will say, guesstimation
Right.
and a perfect world type stuff, and we'll supply that to you. Don't get alarmed when you get it, because we're not asking for an appropriation, but at least to give you an idea of where, 15 years down the road when we're established in Kansas and we have the court system up and going, what would it look like from a budget standpoint? And they'll give you a preview of what that would look like.
That would help me because we've talked about getting our court like it should be, but I really don't have a vision of what that is. So if you could do that,
That may
would
help.
help all of us.
That may help if we do a model budget of
Right.
what the thing might look like, let's say, 2018, 2019. And then you guys can, look at it.
Another thing that I saw when I was working on looking for some funding for the courts, there were some webinar trainings, and I thought that might be a good project for the judges to get the webinar on the conference room TV and gather and watch it and discuss it.
Webinars are always an option.
Might price some of those.
Yeah. And so I think that gives you an idea of what we're looking at. There are some, like you said, some problems, like, Annette and others have talked about, what happened. We don't know what happened. But what we do know is there's a problem we need to try to work on curing, and it's not going to be an overnight deal. And you guys are going to be part of it. In the end, are going to have the ultimate say on which way you want to go on some of these new codes. So,
Curtis, did you have something
Yes.
right?
Thank you, Chief. I just wanted to add to this a couple of things. First of all, with regards to the recommended legislation that the council look at, your Indian child welfare legislation is going to be presented to you for workshop review and consideration in your October tribal council meeting. That's the next one.
excellent.
The next piece of legislation, followed by the Enrollment Act, followed by, we'll be doing further work on the election legislation. However, we really wanted to wait until after November with the trust board's big election so that we didn't try to enact anything that might contradict or create conflict with what the trust board is doing in November. We'll look for ways to integrate the entire thing. But that legislation is being worked on as we speak. Secondly, with regards to any of the old records from previous judges, when I had my offices across the hall, the old office, I had a filing cabinet full of judges' notebooks and trainings and all kinds of stuff that goes back to the Patsy Martin days and Sally and others who served as judges over the years. It's still down there. It's in the storage room in the new social services building. So now we'll work together, find that stuff, and get it into where when you get in the workshop, you'll have.
I think a lot of that stuff is there, Curtis, but I think they've been looking through it, and they literally can't find old resolutions. In fact, Libby and some of the other judges were telling me that you were even talking to them about how you remembered when this or that had been passed when you were chief, and you could almost remember it when it went down, and then when they went to look for it, they couldn't find it.
and that's the non-continuous administrative oversight of some of this paperwork here. The only we can do is do our best to reconstruct all of that, and we are doing that. We're still going back and finding old resolutions from the 90s. But I didn't want the council to think that we're totally operating in an unknown territory. We are trying to address this, and further communication and collaboration, I think, we're just headed toward what everyone wants to do. In addition to that, we have been looking at, like you have, Jennifer, I looked at the latest A&A SEDS grant for tribal court development. We can see if that's an option, but as Judge Mason said, 638 funding, they do have that kind of thing for tribal courts. And then there's other grants in that. I think we're going to need to collaborate with you judges and work together to see who sits down and does the prep work necessary to submit a grant proposal. But we should look for everything from federal government agencies, things like the National Indian Justice Center and other agencies, nonprofits, anybody out there that's willing to, whether it's $1,000 or $20,000, will help build our tribal court budget, because we just try to find some deep pockets wherever we can to try to keep our court afloat. I think we're doing a remarkable job already.
I think that the tribal council might have identified Judge Tripp and Troy.
I was very pleased with her. I'm pretty critical, as I think most legally trained people are, when non-lawyers tell you how to do things. I was very impressed with she knew what she was talking about. She'd done her homework, and the process was good. And like I said, she adds a certain sense of continuity and coherence, because we're not here. We have other lives. So I'm impressed with the help she offered us, and I hope she's going to in the future as well. So, thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Okay, guess we're going to unfinished business. Oh, yeah. It's an 8A item. It's been on the agendas before. We are pretty close to finishing that 8A. We need a sue or be sued clause in the document before we can submit it. So I think Jennifer's working on that. About finishing.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and approve, pending review by our attorney, a sue or be sued clause for DFMS. And then in discussion, I'll explain what that means. And yeah, that way we can go ahead and take care of it.
Second, so you can explain now.
The DFMS, when it was chartered under the tribe as a tribal LLC, the employee at the time that was handling that put some articles of organization together for the governing documents of the organization of the business. However, she failed to include the sue or be sued clause, which you may know the tribe enjoys sovereign immunity from being sued. However, a business of the tribe, which DFMS is a wholly owned entity of the tribe and could potentially enjoy sovereign immunity in certain situations, people don't want to contract with that type of business. They don't want to get into contract with a business that can't be sued. So it's a standard, simple thing that the SBA is not going to approve the 8A application without.
As to the discussion, I think we have one example. There's several out there. Some could be even sue and be sued. The key to it is protecting and not waiving either equivocally, unequivocally, or ambiguously the sovereign immunity of the Delaware tribe.
Right.
And it will be a requirement for any contracts, right?
So comfortable.
Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passed. All in favor? And the second one is the NCI delegates. We need to get that done to be able to get there on the early bird, save $100 apiece to go. And I think Joe was wanting an explanation, but I think she's gone. That why we're going? She wanted to know more about the cost of the thing.
And this one started registration.
NCI is in Tulsa this year. It's their 70th anniversary. There's some opportunities for tribal members to attend. I guess non-tribal members too. I'm hoping to get together a group on Wednesday night. Does anybody know the date on that? October 13th?
It's October 13th through the 18th.
So on Wednesday the 16th is they have what they call cultural night, and they'll be celebrating the cultures of the area tribes. And we're hoping to get together, have a sign-up list that you can ride one of the tribe bands down to the event in Tulsa, and that would be free to go to. And we've been attending the planning sessions for the NCI event, and have put our tribe in as participating in Culture Night, so we thought we would get a bean dance in.
We think a lot of these tribes will be participating in there, and thereby you won't have much time as an individual tribe. But we think that our bean dance is unique, and maybe the go get them, we're not quite sure how much time they will allow us. But I think that we might be the only tribe doing the bean dance, whereas there'd be several tribes trying to do stomp dances. So we're looking into that, and we're taking a van down there, or two vans or something down there on that Wednesday night.
The National Congress of American Indian is a national organization. Like I said, this is their 70th annual meeting. They are kind of our eyes and ears in Washington, and a coming together of all tribes. They try not to get into intertribal business, but they do get into intra-tribal business. Certainly with the ICWA news that's been happening, they've been very involved with that, and the Supreme Court rulings that have affected Indian country. They act as a lobbyist, and at this convention they will have resolutions that the tribes will bring to the floor to help Indian country, and their mission throughout the year is to be a champion for us and go to Congress and make sure that our interests are represented.
So we're going to ask this organization to support us. We're going to take a resolution down there ourselves and ask them to support us with our move to Kansas and our expansion into Kansas, back to Kansas. Actually, the Delaware tribe helped start this organization. It was 70 years we've been involved in this organization, and we're looking for their support.
If it please, Madam or Chief, NCAI, and Vernon, you may correct me, but it's one of those organizations that you get out of it what you put into it. If you're there, if you talk to the right people, if you show them what your intent is and your purpose and you're sincere, you will get good results. If you go there and none of this group, I feel comfortable, we're all unified in what our mission is. And that is to expand into Kansas. And we need their help.
I believe the veterans are going to bring a resolution to the floor too.
Right. I'm glad to hear that.
the veterans are submitting a resolution to NCAI. Right now, when disabled veterans go to the doctor, they get 41.5 cents a mile reimbursement for their travel from here to Tulsa, Muskogee, wherever they have to go. And our resolution is to encourage NCAI to help promote increasing that to whatever the federal rate is, rather than having it so much lower. But that is the basis of that resolution. At NCAI, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Indian Health, HUD, they all have high-level representatives giving updates to us. Once they have finished giving these updates, they're still around. And it is where we get to talk to them without having to go to Washington. Maybe not on record, but we get a lot of input and a lot of encouragement and ideas and knowledge from talking with these people. And to me, that is 75% of the value of being there, is to be able to make enough contact with the Washington departments as well as other tribes and compare, because a lot of times you compare with another tribe, they've already had this problem and they solved it, and you can figure out how to do it by what they tell you. It saves you a lot of problems. But, that is a big value to this type of conference.
It's probably one of the, I'll call this networking, if you don't mind, or information exchange. It is undoubtedly one of the most important parts of the NCAI, besides the resolution. But the relationships you develop with other tribal leaders, where you can pick up the phone and say, how are you handling this? What do you think? I think Verna has been a long-time veteran. I went my first one in 1980. And you get into it, get out of it, what's good in it. And you can really be a valuable, I'm very much interested in a couple of things. Don, our Chief Judge, the Indian Child Welfare Act, what's going on there. The baby mills have really had me upset. The Supreme Court project, that's very important. John Eckelhock and Walter Eckelhock will be there.
Just wrote a new book.
Just wrote another book. Pawnees are very prolific of writing, but I can't imagine that if we're going to go to the next level, that we're not an active participant in this.
Well, on another note too, if really a hot topic comes up for these people, sometimes they send their aide or they send a lower level person. You think they advertise that the head guy's going to be there and then somebody else shows up. I noticed that, and man, they get out of there quick. That's one of the things I noticed about them.
Well, at a mid-year this year, we got to see the new secretary of the Department of Interior.
And he was on a high low, wasn't he?
Sally Jewell.
Was she there?
And she spoke, and it gave us all a really good feeling about.
Is she coming to National?
She's really interested in NCI. And I guess when a new cabinet member takes position, of course they're pulled in a lot of different directions because she is over several departments or agencies. And NCI, she met with NCI the first week that she was in office, that she was in her position, which is something that no Secretary of Interior has done before.
What tribe is she? I forgot what
She's
tribe.
not Indian. She's not native, but
That's right.
she has a really interesting history. You can look her up on the internet.
I read about her. I just forgot that.
She's ran with all sorts of tribes, even in Oklahoma, through her career.
Or she's a Democrat.
Yeah. The first A&A grant we got and applied for is a direct result of attending National Congress and finding out that we could apply for this type of thing and how to go about it.
Verna got her help there.
Yeah. She put something in and she got something out.
Yeah.
Madam Chief, I would recommend that we're entitled to one delegate and then an alternate. Is that correct?
City alternates.
Right.
I think the chief should be the delegate.
Absolutely.
And I plan on attending. I went along. I mean, I have a son that lives there, and another son that probably show me.
Tulsa's the right place for you this year.
Yes.
We're very happy that it's in Oklahoma because we don't have to fly and we don't have to even spend the night down there. So it's going to really save on expenses. But we didn't even do a resolution for tonight, but we need to vote on one because we have to have a resolution to send with our money to make these reservations.
Should I make a motion? I'll move that we prepare a resolution for the NCAI 2013 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Is that all? That's what we need to go ahead?
We've got to have the delegate and...
Yeah.
But we're going to... Okay. I'll make a motion that Chief Pachonik will be our delegate and Verna Crawford will be the alternate.
All of them.
All everybody be alternate.
Oh, we can all be alternates?
Yeah, the resolution has the delegate.
Oh, I
and
see.
everybody else is alternate.
Okay. Well, somebody else want to make the motion? And I'll second it.
It wasn't Keith Craig.
Oh, okay.
It's a friendly amendment.
Oh, okay. Did you get that?
So you'd like to prepare and approve Resolution 2013-50 to appoint chief, to recognize
select.
chief as the delegate and the rest of the attending council members as alternates. And I second that.
So any caucus we want to go to, we're considered an alternate. Vote, we can vote. Okay.
But we have the right to vote in caucus if the delegate's not there.
Right. Okay.
This is an election year for NCAI.
Oh, that means lots of food parties.
They'll have a lot of receptions, but it's important that we vote on who the officers are going to be for the next 4 years. We also will be electing the caucus, our vice president from our region. So we need to be sure we elect somebody that is going to be favorable to us and work with us. Right now, the last several years, the Cherokees have been the vice president from our region.
And they probably will again. They sewed it up.
No, not without a fight.
You do your networking with the rest of the tribes in your region, and if you've got somebody you want to promote, then that's how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passed. All in favor?
So do we need, if we nominated you, Vernon, then we'd have to have a food party? Is that what? No?
A reception. A reception. They have lots of receptions. All these candidates will be having a reception.
For the caucus?
Well,
For
and
our
you-
area.
And you probably should have started before midnight.
Oh, is this too late?
All right. Yeah, dark horse candidate.
Well, that's okay.
Okay. I guess we're back to new business on our resolutions and
Tribal Membership Act.
Resolution 1347.
I think Sheila.
Tribal membership, if somebody would read the names.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2013-47.
37 names.
Second it.
Yeah, there's 37 names here. copy of these names? No.
I can read
Okay,
it.
I got Matt's gonna read the names.
It's Mark James Hill III, Andrew Christopher Hill, Deanna Cummings, Joshua Dane Cummings, Cheyenne Lily Ann Denise Godot, Jamie Marie Strobe, Michael James Strobe, Bentley Ryan Rogers, James Scott Maggard, Blake Edward Boffman, Phelan Marie Pettyjohn, Shelby Nicole Johnson Rowell, Deborah Lee Ray Johnson, Anna Kathleen Dodson, Hallie Suzanne Dodson, Jadine Ryott Journeycake, Jamie Lee Truitt Yates, Ariana Don Adams, Peyton Lee Elizabeth Adams, Darrell Wayne Larson, Darrell Clay Larson II, Cody Lou Van Wieringen Burnett, Brianna Lee Byler, Alexander Renee Wyland Lavino. Sounds like these girls have already been married twice. Liliana Marie Livano, Dennis William Jackson, Jesse Don Jackson, Beth Ann Bishop, Terry Glenn Bishop Jr., Kenneth Earl Half, Lee Morgan Von Half, Lydia J. Von Half, Mia Lorenz Von Half, Kenneth Kalani Von Half, Jesse Cheyenne Busey or something, Nicholas Bacon Busey, and Jesse Reed Busey. Did I? Yeah, 37. These probably are all mostly children, it sounds like. A lot of them are children. Is that right? Is she gone?
She's gone.
Okay.
I wanted to make a little note because this is something that had been discussed several times. In her report and by email, she let me know that they got all caught up on their backlog.
Yes, that is a big praise God. And also, they're all caught up. They have 5 cards left to make and send out.
Wow, that's great.
I move to adopt.
No, we already called for the question.
Okay.
Call for the question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Passed. All in favor.
I would move we go into executive session for...
Yes, is there anybody have anything to bring before the council? We are going to have an executive session here. I'll second it. I wanted to also say, do we have to say why we're going in?
No.
Oh, okay. We can go in for more than one thing, right? Yes. Okay. Got it.
We're not subject to state law.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go back into session if we need to approve anything.
I'm sure glad you all came to be with us. Thank you for coming, Mary.